Hi guys, Bobby here from Peak Performance Academy.
And Ruth from Kerry Physiotherapy.
On this video we're going to do a muscle group. We're going to work on the shoulder. So we're going to go take you through some exercises that we would use here at Peak Performance Academy and for the shoulder.
And I'm just going to go maybe through what the shoulder joint a little bit and why our shoulder is unstable and what we need to do to make it better if we have a problem. Okay, so I'm going to get my little shoulder model here. So as you can see, this is a model of the shoulder. So this is your arm, or as we call it, the humerus. From the back then we've got our scapula, or our shoulder blade, it's back here. And then we've got our clavicle or our collarbone. Okay, so the reason why our shoulder is so unstable is because it's such a shallow joint. So our humerus just kind of sits, it's covered here by tendons, but it just sits very loosely in the socket. Okay, so it's a ball and socket joint, but that's the reason why it has so much mobility, because the socket is so shallow. So we depend on the muscles all around our shoulder for this stability, and the ligaments as well, obviously. So the major stabilizing factor of the shoulder is the rotator cuff. You've got 4 muscles in your rotator cuff. We remember them as the sits muscles. So you've got your supraspinatus, which is here at the top. You've got your infraspinatus, which is here. We've got our teres minor, which is a small little muscle here. And then we've got our subscap, which is around the back. So if I'm looking at the shoulder from here, it's kind of around the back of my shoulder blade. Okay? These all come into a common tendon onto the top of the shoulder joint, and they all come under, or most of them come under, the kind of what's called the acromial space here. And what we want to do is we want to maintain this space, because there's lots of other things that go through here as well. So when we've got instability, our shoulder moves too much, and then we have issues here around our shoulder. So this happens to people from your sedentary office worker to your high level overhead athlete, or people that do overhead movements like tennis players. You got people that would say footballers catching the ball, anything like that, that's overhead. So Bobby's going to take it and he's going to go through some exercises. So once you come in to see us and you've been diagnosed with instability, and we give you some exercises to get you started, Bobby's going to go through some exercises that we would work with him and recommend through that.
And like Ruth was saying there with the shoulder, a lot of the people that would come to the gym is your general public. So your general public is typical an office worker maybe that works in an office, is typing on a computer all day, so their shoulder is in that internal rotation, and that's a big problem, and that's where they would get that tightness and shortening there, so they would have a few issues. So 2 go-to exercises that we use in the gym that we would train people when they're even doing any type of workout, we'd always bring in a small bit of shoulder rehab. So the first one we would do is we would get a band. We just place a band on, we'll say something about chest height. You're grabbing it with an overhand grip here, so my thumb's just like that, and I'm going to, my shoulder at the moment is going to be internally rotated, and what I want to do is change that as I pull back and open up my scapula and externally rotate my shoulder. So nice and controlled, keeping constant tension, opening up the chest.
What's really important here as well is his scapula. So to get that stability, we want to take the emphasis off our upper traps, which tend to fire a lot in day-to-day movements, and get the emphasis onto our mid to lower traps, which is down here. If we strengthen up our mid and lower traps in here, that's going to leave that our scapula is nice and stable down here, and it's going to leave us that we've less of this kind of shoulder hitch, which causes that space that I was talking about earlier to be decreased, and that's when you get like impingement, you get bursitis, rotator cuff tears, things like that.
So the name of this exercise, guys, is a banded face pull. You would start with a band, and again you develop that movement pattern, getting the correct movement, and as I say, like Ruth said, it's not going up to say shoulder elevation, where I see a lot of people doing this, and we're in this position a lot of the time, okay? So hypotensive through our shoulders, so getting that nice position through the scapula, getting it stable, and getting that external rotation. So that's a banded face pull progression of that. Obviously we can add some weight, so we can maybe use the weight stack over there and start adding a little bit of weight with maybe a rope or something that we can just add a little bit more onto it. So that's the first one, a banded face pull. The second exercise, we will grab 2 weights. Now what we're doing here again, we're in internal rotation, we're going to go into external rotation, so we're going to sit the shoulder back and down into a nice comfortable position. And you can just see there.
Yeah, so again, this external rotation helps that open up that space that we were talking about. And again, the scapula is right there, the shoulder blade is stuck into his chest wall. So you want to kind of almost, it's like as if you're trying to put your right scapula into your left back pocket and your left scapula into your right back pocket. So it's kind of down and back. So it's really important that you're getting that squeeze there. And you can see how Bobby's shoulder is open and his chest is open. So he's not in that like forward flexed position. And his thoracic spine is nice and in neutral there.
And as you can see, guys, once we get this position, literally all we'll do is we're going to walk with the weight. So we're going to maintain position, and whilst we're walking with the weight, we're going to keep in that stable position. So we're going to fight the urge to fall forward, bring that shoulder forward again in internal rotation. We're just going to get into that position first, lock it in, and as Ruth spoke about, your scapulas into your pockets, opposite sides, nice and tight, and taking nice slow steps, maybe 15-20 meters of a walk. And we would do that 3 to 4 sets, like the banded face pulls. If you're talking about sets, maybe 3 to 4 sets of about 8 to 12 reps. That's roughly 2 exercises that we would do at Peak Performance Academy to help people get into external rotation of their shoulders so they build the stabilizers. And again, it's going to be 2 good exercises to keep your shoulder health optimal.
And again, we recommend like that people would go on and get the help of like an exercise professional when they're doing these exercises, because as you can see, they can be quite tricky to get that scapula in that right place. And if you're not doing the exercise right, or as Bobby said, if you're like hitching your shoulder and like you're putting overactivity up here, you know, you're not going to be hitting the right muscles, and it's going to be pretty much a waste of time. So it's really important that you do get the help of somebody, and somebody watches you and corrects you in these exercises.
So guys, I hope that really helps on today's video, just giving you an idea about the shoulder and where a lot of the population nowadays, where their shoulder health is, that internal rotation, get a lot of shoulder pain and wondering why. And I hope this video kind of breaks it down for you a little bit. You're getting it from the rehab side and you're getting it from the strengthening side, so you're getting from the best of both worlds and fully understanding where you need to go to sort your shoulder out. Okay guys, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week on the next body part of our series of videos.
Thanks.